Welcome back to JMuddy93. I am Jeremy Warner. So today what we're doing is we are replacing the motor mounts in our 2018 Can Am Outlander H50 XMR, aka Demon Ducky. So I got these mounts here. They are the poly mounts, and you can get them from B&H Small Engine Shop. I'll leave the link in the description below. So anyhow, the reason why I went with the polyurethane and not the solid motor mounts is because the solid motor mounts, after a while, what I hear from other people, is you actually feel the vibration through your arms. Honestly, I don't want to feel that when riding Demon Ducky. I know too, I've talked about replacing her, but for now, I feel like it's worth the money to actually shove it into this machine, get it fixed properly. So anyhow, I never done this before, so a lot of this stuff you're gonna bear with me, but I hope this actually helps you out in the future. So if you can, please like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. So let's get started. Alright. Or you can buy this nifty little tool from Harbor Freight. Works a lot easier to pull these push pins out. This one's acting like a son of a bitch because it's in there good. Alright, so the upper motor mount is right there in between the heat shield and the wire harness there. And so yeah, thinking about things, I currently have the front drive shaft out to because I actually had that shear on me. I kind of right now I have that apart because I intended on doing the motor mounts first. But what I'm looking at now is I think it would be easier for me to do the rear motor mount over here, which is actually by the gearbox here behind this shifter here. In fact, shift that to neutral. So if I do the rear motor mount first, get back there, get that one undone, and then get to the front motor mount and get everything put back together up here, it'll make it easier so I can do the other motor mount. So I guess we'll just move on to the rear for now and get back to the upper one. Alright, so to get this process started, thinking about things on how to do it. Thinking put my wrench there, and then I'm going to take my impact, which these are both 15 millimeters, and just pull that right on out. Oh, it's off. And if you got a punch or an extension, just kind of feed it out through. So what I figured out with these brackets here is I gotta remove that sway bar bushing, like that whole block, just so I can actually get to the rear motor mounts here, because there's a screw that goes back into the frame, and it's kind of a pain in the butt to get to. So anyhow, I'm going to remove the block so we can actually get to that part of the frame, and hopefully we can actually get the bushing removed. This block here has to come out. It's a 13 millimeter bolt. These bolts are not really easy to get out. Yeah, let's get these bolts out of here. Alright, so on both sides I had to pretty much take all the bolts out of the sway bar, and that includes the one that actually sits right here. And let's see if we can actually pull these sway bar bushing blocks out. Alright, so you're gonna have a back nut. Trying to get the light to focus on it, but you have a nut right there. You can see the wrench leading towards the nut on the back of the rear mount here. Behind this wire harness here is the bolt that goes where that nut is, and then on top of that too you have a bolt that goes up here. They're all 13 millimeter, and it's pretty much what you need to get access to the bolt there. So what you got to do is you got to undo your mount from your sway bar here. You got to take out the two 13 millimeter bolts that hold in the block, and the same goes for the other side. So you have access to the rear engine mount that's actually attached to your gearbox. I do apologize for the lighting. In fact, brighten it up a little bit. But it kind of went backwards a little. But yeah, right here is where your rear engine mount is. In order to get to it, you got to undo the bolts that actually hold in to the engine here. I think I can get away with undoing one side, but we'll see what happens. Well, one thing I want to mention with this bolt here that was in the back, going into the sway bar, this bolt has never been undone before. As you can see, it's very, like, the nut's very rusted up. But our next bolt is that guy right in there. They're both 13 millimeters. And they just sit above this bolt here. And hopefully all we gotta do is undo one side and we can slide out the motor mounts. Okay, so we got one side out. Here's our OEM bushing. It came out super easy. And that's just one side. And I'm not going to film the other side because it's pretty much the same process to get underneath there, get the 13 millimeter under the sway bar and your socket and work it out. And I'm not going to film that because it's pretty much the same thing. It's just you have a little bit less room to squeeze. So anyhow, I'm going to go work on that side now. And when we get back, we'll be shoving the bushings right on in. Alright, so I didn't really show myself pushing the bushings out. The other side ended up being a little bit more pain in the butt than it should have. Make sure you got a buddy when you're actually taking the other side apart. Just an FYI. That way you have somebody hold the wrench and you're less frustrated. But right here, trying to get the camera focus, but right here is one of the old bushings. It's a little rubber bushing. Honestly, I don't think it was too bad, but at the same time, I got it pulled apart. I might as well do it. And then here is the new bushing, and it's very beefy. It's all poly. You can get these at B&H Small Engines up there in Sunbury, Ontario. Thank you, Darren. I greatly appreciate you for sending these out to me. So anyhow, the next step is going to be lubricating these up with some grease and pushing them on in there. I think I'm going to use a rubber mallet just to like tap them in there. So anyhow, let's get started. Alright, so before I begin on the upper engine mount, I really would like to put together the rear engine mount. It's because it wasn't really the easiest to get out, but at the same time I would rather do this than versus having it sit here and be pretty much a pain in the butt to actually get that upper engine mount reattached. That's the only reason why I'm reassembling and putting these brackets in first before I do any of it. So one thing is with these brackets is this rear section here where you put this bolt in, this bolts directly into the frame, and the sway bar, which if you're actually doing this job yourself, it's not really easy to get at. Like the bolts side is not really easy to get at. Alright, so when I mean not easy to put together, you have to pretty much just take this bolt here, well, that nut. Also too, it helps to have adequate lighting. Has to go into place, and then once you get it in its place, it's a game of pretty much try to find the bolt. If you do it with a box wrench, the end's not going to swivel on you. Alright, so when it comes to loosening and unloosening this bolt here on the left side of the wheeler here, I highly recommend getting a buddy or a relative or anyone of that matter to help you loosen and tighten that bolt up. And when you do, just so you know, 13mm wrench actually works better on this side. So to access the bolt from this side, I highly recommend using a very long 3/8 extension on a swivel with a 13, and this will actually reach up in there, and you can actually get to your bolt. For now I'm leaving it loose, because if I leave it loose, when it comes to assembly and tightening it, it makes it a lot easier to shove that big bolt into the gearbox there. Alright, so once you have your two brackets in and it's loosely assembled, and the reason why you put it in loosely assembled is because you got to actually put this bolt back into that hole there, and it should make it a little bit easier. I see I gotta do a little bit of propping with the pry bar to try to get this bolt in here, and also too, I'm gonna put a little grease on it. Let's put this bolt in and move on to the upper mount. So I kind of ran into a little snag here, and apparently what I need to do is I need to move the engine forward, and then also too I need to move it up. So what I'm going to use is a pry bar and try to slide this in the rest of the way here. So this here is a great example of why you leave everything loose before you actually do the final tighten. As you can see, the bolt here is not exactly lining up with the hole, I'm having my dad come down from out of the house here to try to help me out with this. But yeah, great example of why you never tighten bolts before you actually assemble everything else. You want it so you can actually move the engine and do what you need to do in order to make that bolt fit, and then you tighten everything up. Sometimes you need a little bit of help when it comes to aligning things. Thank you, Dad. All right, so now we're gonna do the upper mount. And the bolt for the upper mount is, you gotta take this plastic off, all right here. But the bolt, if you can kind of see it on camera, where the extension's pointing, it is right next to, actually once I flip it, it might be a little bit easier for you to see it, but right at the end of the extension here is where the bolt is on the right side for the upper mount. Alright, so right here is your ECU, and the bolt for your for the other side of the upper winch mount is right behind the ECU here. It might vary because other machines, like we're talking like Bluey does not have her ECU located right here. Bluey's ECU is located underneath here. So say if you have like a 2024 or 2025 Renegade or an Outlander that's 2019 and newer, you're gonna have easier access to this bolt here. So anyhow, the mount is actually located right behind that bracket there where the screw is. Doing my best trying to hold it here. But anyhow, let's get this upper mount removed. Alright, so what I ended up doing was I ended up taking a little bit of heat to the head of the bolt, and since this bolt was pretty much broken, I heated it up and I was able to break off this piece here. Just a warning, it is a little bit tight to get into that spot to try to heat it up and try to break off the bolt, because this was already broken. So now we got the bushing in. Had to climb up through the fender well over here just to get into this one. And of course, I think each time you do this, you are going to need a brand new screw. Alright, so right now we are doing the front bushings. Had to pry up quite a bit just to get these in here. I don't know how the other side's going to go in.
WD-40, where is it?
It's over here. It might just slide right in.
This bushing's longer than...
Yeah, it is.
Not much longer. Yeah. Oh, whatever you did, you see it move.
Well, yeah, this job at this point is definitely a two-person job. It's not easy. You do have a rubber mallet here somewhere.
I got it.
You got it?
No. I gotta get it. Past the... Can you push up a little higher?
You okay?
Yeah.
trying to get repositioned here so I can pry up on it.
Oh boy, that was perfect. It was high enough there. Reposition this again. There it's in. Now you got to take your bar out. I got stopped on the bar. There. It's in.
Okay.
Get
the rubber mallet.
I don't have a rubber mallet. I have a regular hammer.
Oh my God. Should be. Is that it?
Wait a minute.
Nope, it's not.
Okay, check it. Did I get it?
Still have a little gap.
Okay. Okay, I think I got it.
Alright.
Feel it. Well, no, I see there's a little gap still.
That's okay, we can actually tighten that up. Probably won't. Alright, so I got the front differential in, and if you see this video, hey, please like and subscribe. Every subscriber and like that goes towards this video goes towards funds for this channel, and I would greatly appreciate that. But